All right, so you want to know about the cabin? The storm? Yeah, okay. It started beautifully, is the fucked up thing. Picture it, deep Maine woods, maybe 50 miles from the nearest town worth mentioning. January. I rented the place, the Hermitage, the ad called it, God help me, specifically to unplug. Right, just silence. And it was silent for the first couple of days. Snow falling like a blessing, muffling the world. The cabin was small, rustic, perfect. Stone fireplace, worn armchair, stacks of books I swore I'd read. I'd wake up late, make coffee, watch the snow through the big front window. It felt like being tucked away inside a snow globe, safe and cozy. I remember thinking, this is it. This is peace. Then the wind picked up. Not a gentle sigh, but a low, guttural moan that vibrated through the walls. The snow wasn't falling anymore. It was attacking, horizontal sheets of white fury. The forecast had mentioned a squall, maybe a few inches. This was biblical. Whiteout conditions within hours. The power flickered, died, and the generator outside groaned to life, a lonely counterpoint to the wind's shriek. That's when the quiet started to get loud. You know that feeling, when silence isn't empty, but full of something else? I kept hearing things over the wind. Scrapes against the side of the cabin, sounds I told myself were just branches. A rhythmic thump-thump on the roof. Settling snow, obviously. But it felt deliberate, like something heavy and slow pacing overhead. Then came the whispers. At first, I dismissed them as the wind whistling through a crack. They were indistinct, just a sibilant murmur. But they seemed to follow me. Moved to the kitchen, they were fainter, but still there, close to the window. Huddled by the fire, they seemed to curl out of the chimney. I tried covering my ears, singing loudly, anything to drown them out. It didn't work. They were inside the sound, inside the wind. Soon, they weren't just murmurs. They were words. Soft, slurred, almost affectionate. My name sometimes. Just my name, whispered right next to my ear when I knew I was utterly alone. Then it started to feel watched. Not just a general sense of unease, but specific points on my body. The back of my neck, the small of my back, my ankles. A prickling heat, like a phantom touch that lingered just long enough to make me flinch and spin around. Nothing there, ever. One evening, huddled by the fire, the generator sputtering outside, the whispers were clearer. Cold out there, they seemed to say, low and soothing. Let me in. I'll warm you. The words felt wrong, invasive, like someone was speaking not to me, but from a place deep inside my own chest. They carried a strange, unsettling warmth that was the opposite of the blizzard outside. It was seductive, promising comfort and ease in the face of the storm's brutality, and that scared me more than the cold. I started having terrible dreams, vivid, suffocating things. I'd be in the cabin, but it would be different, larger, distorted. And there would be a figure, not a monster, not immediately. Sometimes it looked like someone I vaguely knew, a stranger with familiar eyes. Sometimes it had no clear form, just a presence in the shape of a person. It would approach me, not with malice, but with an intense, focused desire. It never spoke, but its presence communicated hunger. It would reach for me, and the feeling of that touch in the dream was horrifyingly real, like freezing water rushing through my veins, yet leaving a burning trail on my skin. The feeling of being explored, known in the most intimate and violating way possible, purely by its gaze and proximity. I'd wake up gasping, the cabin feeling the feeling of being explored, known in the most intimate and violating way possible, purely by its gaze and proximity. I'd wake up gasping, the cabin feeling small and fragile, the phantom touch still a ghost on my skin. It began to mirror me. I'd stand by the window, looking out at the white void, and I'd hear a soft sigh right behind me, perfectly timed with my own breath. I'd move to the fireplace and hear the distinct shuffle of feet echoing my own steps from a place where nothing could be. It wasn't mocking, it felt like absorption, like it was learning me, becoming me, trying on my skin. The whispers became bolder. "You don't need the fire," they'd purr, closer now, right beside my ear. "I am warmth. I am connection. You are so alone. Let me fill you." The seductive danger was palpable, a terrible blurring of fear and something else, something shameful and confusing that coiled in my gut. It felt like it was preying on my isolation, my need for contact, twisting it into something foul. It wanted not just entry, but fusion, to erase me and wear my life like a coat. Then came the night the generator finally choked and died. Absolute, terrifying darkness. The storm was a banshee now, clawing at the walls. And in the sudden silence, except for the storm, the presence in the cabin became overwhelming. It wasn't whispers anymore. It was a weight in the air, heavy and cold, yet radiating that sickening, intimate warmth. It was in the room with me. I huddled by the cold fireplace, gripping a cast iron poker, useless. I could feel it, a vast, hungry emptiness that smelled faintly of ozone and damp pine needles, the clean smell of the woods somehow made foul. It was close enough that I could feel the non-existent breath on my cheek. It was right behind me. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to become small, invisible. But it knew I was there. "Open your eyes," a voice commanded, not whispered this time, but resonating deep inside my skull. It wasn't my voice, but it used my internal landscape, hitting notes of fear and longing I hadn't known I possessed. "Look at me. Let me see you. Let me touch." A hand, impossibly cold yet burning, closed around my wrist. Not a physical hand, not made of flesh and bone, but a grip of pure, invasive presence. It felt like my very soul was being grasped. A wave of violation washed over me, a sense of being utterly exposed and consumed from the inside out. It started to pull, gently but relentlessly, not towards itself, but outwards, like it wanted to draw my essence from my body. It was the climax of its terrible seduction, a literal taking. I screamed, not just a shout, but a raw, tearing sound torn from my deepest core. I thrashed, not against a physical form, but against the impossible grip on my wrist, the suffocating pressure in the air. I remember falling, hitting the floor, the poker clattering away. And in that moment of sheer animal terror and resistance, something shifted. The grip vanished. The oppressive weight in the air recoiled like a startled predator. The whispers returned, but they were angry now, frustrated, fading back into the shriek of the wind. I lay there in the dark for hours, shaking, listening to the storm and the retreating silence. The next morning, impossibly, the storm broke. The sun, weak but real, pierced through the clouds. The world was buried in snow, pristine and silent once more. The cabin was cold, empty, ordinary. I left the next day, digging my car out, driving away from that place as fast as the snow allowed. But I didn't leave it all behind. I still feel the cold spot on my wrist where it touched me. It's always there, like a phantom bruise that never fades, a constant reminder of that impossible touch. And sometimes, when the wind is just right, or when I'm alone in a quiet room, I hear a sound, a faint, sibilant whisper, just on the edge of hearing. My name, or worse, still cold, it seems to sigh. Let me in. Was it the isolation? The blizzard playing tricks on my mind? A stress-induced breakdown? I tell myself that over and over. But I know, deep down, what happened in that cabin wasn't just in my head. And whatever it was, it saw